Nica. You're one of the principals, as I mentioned, at Millerson Dufek Lawyers. You've had a really keen interest in this area of property and retirement living. What stoked that interest for you?
Well, that's a good question. I actually started out doing criminal law because I watched way too much Law and Order and all that type of thing, and I thought that was the thing for me. I did that for a couple of years and realised actually it's not like it is on television. So then I changed my mind and went into property and started out doing residential property development work and gradually moved into the retirement space. And I really enjoy it. So that's where I'm staying. There's no criminal law on my horizon, so please don't commit any crimes.
I'm pleased you didn't see a connection between the two. That's good. It can be a very confusing path, as we've said, and there's lots of different village contract models. So, Nica, what questions would you recommend that our lovely guests ask when they contemplate a shift into a retirement village?
Good question. So the Retirement Villages Act is the legislation that oversees retirement villages. There's rules in that legislation, but retirement operators can do sort of what they want at their discretion up to a certain point within the limits of the legislation. So because of that, the contracts are all different between different operators. Glenn already touched on their exit fees being quite competitive, so we'll go through that a little bit more down the track as well, but down the path, the short path. But ultimately, that's why it's really important to get advice, because they're all different. So the things that I would say that people should be looking at are both personal and practical, things like, can you take a pet into the village? Can you have visitors come and stay with you? What are the policies on that? Your monthly fees that you're paying, what does that cover? What facilities can you use and what benefits do you have while you're here? But then from a financial point of view, you need to be looking at what the exit fee looks like. What's the time frame for the retirement village operator to pay you back your money once you've moved out of the village if you need aged care or a person's passed away? When they need to pay you back your refund, what are the things they can charge you for at that time? These can all be different from village to village. So really important to get that advice and make sure that what you're signing up to is what you are happy with and your understanding of everything that you're signing up to.
Can you give us an idea, Nica, of the range of contract options that are available and the pros and cons of those?
Yeah, sure. So if we're talking about reside, we've got two different contract types here that people can sign up to. Under the first contract, you pay a purchase price or an ingoing contribution, as it's sometimes called, to move into your unit. When you leave your unit, then what will happen is that there will be an exit fee charged or a deferred management fee. Under that first contract type, it will accrue at 5% over a period of 5 years, at a maximum of 25%. So that's the exit fee that you'll pay when you leave. Under that contract type, if there's a capital gain as well, you'll get 50% of that capital gain. Under the second contract type that's offered here, you still pay the ingoing contribution or the purchase price the same way as you would on the first contract, but in addition to that, you'll pay an extra 5% upfront at the time that you're moving in. In exchange for that, your exit fee will then be 5% over a period of 3 years. So that means that your maximum exit fee will be 15% on the second contract type as compared to 25% on the first contract type. So a bit of a difference there. And the second contract type is not something that a lot of operators offer at the moment. So many of them will just say, well, this is our price that you pay. If you sold your house for more than you're expecting and you've got extra cash to contribute up front, we don't want it. But in this case, there's an opportunity to pay a little bit extra up front to get that benefit of the lower exit fee when you move out. So Brad was saying these are the sorts of considerations that you need to take into account when you're making a decision on the best contract for you.
So everybody's circumstance obviously is different, their assets are different. This deferred management fee is still
controversial.
Controversial. Can you add a bit more around that and shed a bit more light on it, Nica?
Of course. So deferred management fees, or as they're sometimes called exit fees, all retirement operators charge it. This is their profit that they make, so they can't take any profit on monthly fees that you're paying while you're living there, but this becomes their profit and it helps them to develop the village and provide services and things like that for their residents. The way that it's charged and the percentage that's charged is not legislated. So again, it will vary from village to village and operator to operator. Some operators will charge it as a monthly ongoing rent that people pay the whole time that they're living in the village. But most of them will charge a percentage that will accrue over time, and it will cap out at a certain point. So as we've said just before, in this case, we've got two different contract types here. 25% over 5 years is one of the exit fees, or 15% over 3 years if you go with the other contract type, where you pay a little bit extra upfront. Commonly, we're seeing 35% with most other operators. So when Glenn was talking about their exit fees being competitive, the range that we're really seeing is that 30 to 35%. So they really are very competitive in the market at the moment.
So that was my next question, is what do you make of Reside's contract options as versus the rest of the market?
So a couple of things on that, Kay. I mean, the exit fee is one thing. I mean, that's a huge difference. 35% compared to 25 or 15% is a huge difference. Another thing that I find quite unique about Reside's contracts is that they will share in capital gain with their residents. Many operators no longer have capital gain sharing contracts at all anymore. And I've found that with some of my clients, they've spent their life investing in property and have been able to get capital gains and things like that. So for them, the non-capital gain sharing contracts aren't really an option. So they really want to have the opportunity to have that capital gain. The difference or the unique aspect of the Reside contract when it comes to capital gain is they say, look, if there's a capital gain, we'll give you 50% of that. However, we will still charge your exit fee on the price that you pay when you move into your unit. But a lot of other capital gain sharing contracts that we see, they charge that exit fee on the higher price that the next resident's paying to go in. So then that starts to eat into the resident's capital gain. And we don't see a lot of operators that do it the way that Reside does it. So that's another aspect of their contract that's quite unique and really in the benefit of the resident.
Please tell me if I'm not following the line here, but Brad's told us it's not a good financial investment. How often do village operators realise capital gains?
Honestly, it depends on the village and the time, as you can imagine
Cycle.
with residential. I am also on team, it should be an investment in your lifestyle, but I think the opportunity for clients to be able to participate in capital gains is really important because, as I said, a lot of operators just say, well, too bad, we're not sharing in that capital gain. So the fact that Reside offers that contract type in itself is unique. I still think that residents should be picking their village based on the facilities, the location, all of those things, and it should be an investment in your lifestyle. But, a property like this is very different to what you used to see in retirement, where it would be sort of that really old-fashioned, no high-tech facilities, no events on. I mean, Glenn mentioned 100 events or, programs a month. You never used to get that type of thing. So with those things and this type of area where people are always interested in moving into, capital gain is certainly a possibility in the future.
I can see Glenn and Brad both keen to
Can I be nerdy?
chime in.
Can I be nerdy first?
Please do.
So I didn't want to go into this first of all until we'd actually heard from the real nerd over here. The two options of actually buying in, do remember that if you actually put more in, there is a less DMF. So there's a return on that, but you are losing a return on investment putting extra in. But if you actually lower your assets, the government may actually chip in for you as well. So sometimes by reducing your assets test, you could get a potential 7.8% rate of return by the government guaranteed index twice a year. So when you put those two options, you have to decide on how much money have I got, how much money do I want to spend, how much benefit can I receive from the government. So by paying more, it actually can be beneficial as well. So just be wary of that one. Good point.
And if I may, the sharing of capital gain is something when we started this business, I wanted to see put into place. Most, as Nica was saying, most operators out there are moving to 100% capital gain going to the operators. We think it's only fair that we share in the successful sale of that villa and apartment with you. And we're co-joined then I'm very motivated to try to sell it for as much as possible, and you're very motivated for me to sell it for as much as possible on resale. And generally they're the best relationships when both parties want to try to sell it for as much as possible. So we think it's a little unique, but we think it's very important.
Thank you, gentlemen. And thank you, Nica. That was really enlightening. So we've navigated...